Most people check their bank balance like it's a score. High balance feels good, low balance feels bad. That's the whole system. But a balance is just a snapshot. It tells you where you are, not where anything is going. And that difference between a snapshot and a flow is exactly what this is about. Here's the question worth sitting with from the start. Why do two people earning $6,700 a year end up in completely different financial positions? Same income, different outcomes. The gap is almost never about the number. It's about whether the money was directed or just spent in the order it arrived. That's the mechanism. Unrouted money follows the path of least resistance. It goes to whatever is loudest. The bill that's overdue, the cart that's already full. A man gets paid on Friday. By Tuesday, $340 is gone, and he can't account for it. Not stolen, not wasted on anything dramatic, just unrouted. That's what a missing cash flow system feels like from the inside. Now here's the first concrete question to answer. What does it actually mean to route money? And why does it change behavior? Routing means every dollar gets a destination before it gets a chance to drift. Not a budget category on paper, an actual account, envelope, or transfer it moves into. The psychology here is specific. Money without a label gets treated as available. Even if it was mentally earmarked, the brain sees a full account and reads it as permission. This is why people who mentally budget still overspend. The friction isn't there. The routing system creates friction by moving money before the decision point arrives. Now, what does a real system actually look like in structure? Think of it in 3 layers. Income comes in, then it splits, then each split has one job. Layer 1 is the landing account. Everything arrives here first. Nothing lives here long. A man's paycheck hits his checking account every 2 weeks, $3,100 after tax. Within 48 hours, 3 transfers run automatically. He doesn't decide. The system decides. That automation detail matters more than the percentages. Timing kills intention. Layer 2 is the split, fixed obligations, variable spending, and future money. Fixed obligations leave first. Rent $1,450, insurance $190, loan minimum $280. That's $1,920 committed before he touches anything, leaving $1,180 to actually direct. Variable spending gets a container, a separate account with a fixed ceiling, not a mental note, a different account. When it's empty, the variable spending is done. This is the mechanism that most budgets skip, and it's why most budgets fail. A budget tells you what you planned, a routed system tells you what's actually left. Here's the misconception worth dismantling clearly. Smart people often say, I earn enough, I don't need a system, I just need to earn more. But income growth without routing just produces higher velocity drift. More money arrives. More leaves without a job. The balance looks better, but the structure is identical. In general, a person earning $110,000 with no routing is more financially fragile than someone earning $58,000 with a clear split system. Not always, but often enough that income alone is a weak predictor of financial stability. The third layer is future money, savings, buffer, and longer-term goals. These don't compete with spending, they leave before spending gets access. Pay yourself first isn't a motivational phrase, it's a sequencing instruction. If the future money transfers run after variable spending, they get whatever's left over. And whatever's left over is usually a number that keeps shrinking. A $400 automatic transfer to a buffer account on payday feels smaller than a $400 decision at month end. Same amount, different psychological weight. The system removes the negotiation. Now here's where the structure gets tested, and most systems quietly collapse. Variable spending is the layer that breaks first. Not because people are reckless, because variable spending has no natural stop signal without a container. Groceries, fuel, subscriptions, takeout, a $23 delivery fee at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday. Each one feels small. Together, they erase the math that looked fine on paper. A man budgets $600 for variable spending. By day 19, he's at $580 with 11 days left. He doesn't overspend dramatically. He just has no visual wall until the account hits zero. That zero, in a separate account, is the stop signal a mental budget never produces. Here's the gear change. And it's worth pausing on. The most dangerous month financially is not the one where something goes wrong. It's the quiet month, steady income, no crisis, where nothing forces attention. That's when drift compounds silently. No alarm, no receipt. That looks shocking. Just $180 here, $90 there, a renewal that auto-charged, a subscription that doubled. 3 quiet months of unrouted money can undo 6 months of intentional saving. The system has to run during the boring months, not just the scary ones. Now, the buffer layer deserves its own explanation because people consistently underbuild it. A buffer is not an emergency fund. Those are different tools with different jobs. The buffer sits between your income timing and your bill timing, because payday and due dates rarely align perfectly, and that gap has a cost. A $220 bill due on the 3rd, paycheck arrives on the 7th. Without a buffer, that's a late fee or a credit card charge. In general, a small buffer of 1 month's fixed costs eliminates most short-term credit dependency. Not investment returns, not financial freedom. Just no more borrowing from next month to pay this month. That loop, borrowing forward to cover now, is how people stay stuck at every income level. The buffer breaks the loop. Not dramatically, just structurally. Now here's the second question from the start. Answered clearly. Why do two people earning the same amount end up in different places? One has a system where money moves by rule. The other moves money by mood. Rule-based movement is boring. It's also the only kind that compounds quietly in your favor. Mood-based movement feels more flexible. It's actually more expensive over time because moods respond to stress, to social comparison, to a good day or a bad week. A rule doesn't have a bad week, it just runs. The last layer most people forget, and it's the one that makes the whole system feel real. Every few months, the system needs a review. Not an overhaul, a calibration. Fixed costs change, a rent increase, a new insurance premium, a loan that paid off. The split percentages that worked at $58,000 need adjusting at $74,000. Not because more income changes the principles, because the numbers underneath them shifted. A man reviews his routing setup in 40 minutes, on a Sunday, adjusts 2 transfers. His system now reflects his actual life, not the life he had 8 months ago. That's the full structure: a landing account, an automatic split, labeled containers, a buffer, and a periodic calibration. No single piece is complicated. The power is in them running together without requiring daily decisions. So here's the honest self-assessment question. Right now, does every dollar that enters your account have a destination before it gets a chance to drift? If the answer is no, that's not a discipline problem. That's a design problem. This week, map your fixed costs to an exact number. Not a rough guess. An exact number, then look at whether one automatic transfer could move your buffer contribution before spending begins. That's it. Not a full overhaul. One structural change that removes one daily negotiation. If this made the idea of a cash flow system feel less abstract and more buildable, the next video goes into what happens when income itself is unpredictable, and how the routing logic shifts entirely. A system doesn't make money behave. It just stops money from deciding for you.